Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso Regular Council meeting. It's October 13th, a little after 1 o'clock. Sorry for the delay. We'll go ahead and get right to business. If you will join with me in a moment of silence, and then we'll participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our gracious Father in heaven, we give thanks to you for this day. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And Father, we just ask for your guidance, your protection, and your wisdom in conducting the village business. And as we reach out for others in need and help, you're there with us to help them. Thank you, Father, for your forever love and your presence here. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the first symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. All righty then, thank you. Mrs. Devine, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Letterman.
Here.
Councilor Salas.
Here.
Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
All right, thank you that you're all here. At least we hope you're all here. We're still always worried about Mr. Coughlin back there being all here.
I'm physically here.
Anyway, we don't need to say it, but by the time we get together at our regular meeting, we'll have voted. So please go vote. For Pete's sake, everybody, please vote so we can get through this. I'd like to have a motion for the approval of today's agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the agenda as presented and also to allow the chair to move items as he sees fit.
Second.
Okay, no discussion. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Letterman.
Aye.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye. All right, thank you, folks. And I was remiss in giving everyone out there in Zoom land an accounting of where all of our counselor and who's attending here. We're still in limited fashion. So joining me today in the council chambers is Councilor Jackson, Councilor Coughlin, Councilor Cornelius, Mayor Pro Tem Councilor Salas, Councilor Letterman, and then Councilor Eby. Also, we have our city manager, Tim Dodge. Our IT professional is Jeffrey Ferguson, and of course, Irma Devine is on keyboard. So we'll move on to deputy manager is in the back. And then we have our village attorney is also in one of the other offices participating from Zoom. So we hope that everybody can hear us and that the sound works, because sometimes it does not. Okay, we'll move on with our agenda items. The consent regular items. Number 1 is approval of governing body minutes, September 1, 2020 workshop meeting. September 1, 2020 special meeting, September 8, 2020 regular meeting, September 15th, 2020 special meeting. Item number 2 is ratification of notice of interest for the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, BRIC, grant funding. Number 3 is ratification of settlement agreement of applicants and protestants pertaining to the OSE file number H50 into SD 0275-1 and H-272 et al. T SD-1300-1, 1300-2, and 1300-3, 0826-2 into 0275-1 and H-272 et al. T and H-53-1 into 0275-1 and H-272 et al. T. That was a mouthful of all. So number 4 is adoption of resolution 2020-38, consent of assignment and execution of closing documents related to transfer of KRUI broadcast station license and assets from MTD Inc. to the Village of Ruidoso. Number 5 is approval of first renewal agreement with Rowe Management Corp. For land lease of Hangar P6 and Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. Number 6, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Village of Capitan as the administrative authority for the Capitan Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement of costs. Number 7 is the approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the town of Carrizozo as administrative authority for Carrizozo Police Department for DWI enforcement and reimbursement of costs. Item number 8 is approval of memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the County of Lincoln as the administrative authority for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement of costs. Number 9, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the City of Ruidoso Downs as the administrative authority for Ruidoso Downs Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement of costs. Number 10, approval of aviation maintenance grant agreement project number SRR-21-01 with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, the State Aviation Division for the biannual airfield maintenance at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. Item number 11 is approval of a grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, LGD, for legislative capital appropriation. Number 20-E2609 to plan, design, purchase, and equip information technology and infrastructure improvements for the Ruidoso Public Library in the amount of $10,000. Item number 12 is the approval of grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, LGD, for legislative capital appropriation. Number 20-E2801 to acquire easements and right-of-way and to plan, design, construct watershed improvements and removal of trees for fire mitigation in the Village of Ruidoso in the amount of $110,000. Item number 13 is approval of amendment number 1 to the grant agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the State of New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, Local Government Division, Enhanced 911 Act Grant Program for project number 21-E-57 for the Public Safety Answering Points PSAP and the Village of Ruidoso and Mescalero Apache Reservation areas and E911 related reimbursements. Number 14, approval of award of runway 624 remarking project to highway supply through the State of New Mexico price agreement, bid number 90-00-18-00005 in the amount of $71,199.41, including gross receipts tax. Item number 15, approval of award of RFP number 2021-002P to 1215 Hotel Operating LLC, DBA MCM Elegante Lodge and Resort as the most responsive and qualified firm for the convention center marketing. Item number 16, to schedule a public hearing on November 10th, 2020 for ordinance 2020-08, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the Village of Ruidoso, New Mexico general obligation, GO bonds, Series 2020, an aggregate principal amount of $1,500,000 for the purpose to enlarge, improve, and/or extend the production and distribution components of the village's water system, providing that the Series 2020 bonds will be payable from ad valorem taxes levied on all taxable property within the village. Number 17, request to schedule a public hearing on November 10th, 2020 for ordinance 2020-09 and ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement to New Mexico Finance Authority, NMFA, in the aggregate principal amount of $7 million for the purpose of financing, constructing, and equipping a magistrate court facility. Okay, that has all those in. We just need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent regular items as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None? Roll call, please.
I apologize.
No problem.
The attorney and I were discussing something. Can you please tell me?
Oh, it's
proceed,
a
please?
motion to approve the consent agenda.
And then who got a second?
And a second,
EB did.
Joe got the second,
Thank you.
and then they were calling for a roll call.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Edie,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman. Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Conklin,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a lot of work done in that. Thank you for all the back story work that you guys did on that. We got a lot of good stuff on there at the courthouse and getting started on some of our water projects. Okay, we'll move into public input. It's limited to the first hour of the meeting. And I don't have anything. Do we have anybody? I think we'll have to call a recess. Do we have anybody call in on public input?
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, the clerk's office did not receive any request in any means of communication requesting to provide public input.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to mayoral reports and presentations. And I really like this part because we get to meet some employees that really give a lot to it. We have one out there.
Here, tell me who's first.
Sean Keller.
Sean Keller.
Sean Keller. Come on in, Sean. Come on up.
Hello, sir.
This is Sean Keller is the employee of the quarter.
All right, congratulations.
And they quit making the bears. I don't know why they did. But Sean, we appreciate you. He's with the fire department. How long you been with the fire department?
Going on 5 years.
5 years. Well, we certainly appreciate you. And this is the first time I think that I've actually seen you. I don't know how I've missed you all this time, but we appreciate all the work that you've done. We used to give you a bear. Now then, I think they're going to give you something that you can spend on the inside.
Okay.
But we appreciate everything that you've done, the great attitude that you have, and how conscientious you are working for our citizens in the village of Ruidoso. So we just have a little token of our appreciation, and then we'll give you a nice little plaque with the Employee of the Quarter Award. So thank you, Sean Keller. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm up here. And we don't have anybody to take a picture.
That's okay.
Anyway, well, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to work for the village and, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, and then also employee of the quarter, Tom Owen, is he out there? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll give him his. He has a gift certificate and a plaque. He is in the water department. And he's been here for a while, Public Works. And then we have Enrique Ramirez as a community services, and I don't think he's going to be here. We're going to mail it out to him. So I was told that earlier. So thank you, Irma. And Enrique is in community services. And then we had also a recommendation of Justin Huffman, but she quit us. So she's not getting one today. So this will, the Department of the Quarter is the Human Resource Department. So is Cheryl out there?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Cheryl has one. She has a pretty difficult, complicated job, I find out, all the ins and outs. But since you've joined us, how long has it been now?
Almost a year.
Almost a year, is it really? Well, we need to really dig in and do a review on her because she'll hit her stuff. But all kidding aside, you do a wonderful job. You've been a great fit with all the people in the office, even though we've gone through COVID or whatever. So we appreciate your service a lot and your leadership, because you are a really good leader. So this goes to your department. So thank you very much, Cheryl, and we appreciate you very much.
Don't trip there, Cheryl. Don't bump this too, Cheryl. You missed John and Tim.
She said, "I'm out of
here."
Anyway, she does do a really magnificent job on working with everything that we have going on and all the employees, especially during this time of COVID, with all the ins and outs that we've had on that. She's done a remarkable job. Okay, we'll move on, and I see Matthew Ingram up there. We'll have a presentation update from Matt Ingram, Director of Operations of the Ruidoso Midtown Association. Are you there, Matt?
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen here for our presentation for our Q1 report. Okay, good afternoon. I just wanted to get you guys updated on what RMA has got planned and has been doing for the past quarter. We have started our kickoff to our engraved tile fundraising project, where we are looking at selling engraved tiles to implement at the Midtown Bathroom Project. The funds will be reserved for a mural that will go down to kind of do a creative place down at the bathroom, as well as facilitate some other physical improvement projects that we're looking at executing over the next over the course of 2021. If you are interested in purchasing an engraved tile to commemorate a loved one, a family member, maybe even a pet, go to ruidosomainstreet.com where you can purchase an engraved tile. So again, we're excited to kind of dip into a different way of fundraising than we've traditionally done. And I think that this is going to be a great project to do so. We'll start revamping our marketing strategy around the holiday season and hopefully gain some sales there. So again, make sure if you want to commemorate a loved one or a special date or anything like that, to go ahead and get your tile now. In our district report for Q1, we go around the district, have business owners input their information on our website. This quarter is kind of slow for us. We did do a physical improvement project in coordination Parks and Rec at the Midtown Commons Plaza. We've built a retaining wall, laid black paper down, or the weed barrier, water irrigation to 6 new aspen trees, and a kind of a xeriscape background there. So if you guys are down in the district, make sure you check that project out. It was just a kind of a great way to finish off. I think that we have some creative plans for the back of the wall, and looking at working with some local artists on that as well. We did have 2 business closures this quarter that was recorded. Kalijah's was due into selling their business, so we're excited to see the change of hands in that building, as well as Horse Feathers and Gifts and Engraving. Unfortunately, was unable to stay open after COVID, so we'll be making sure that retail location is again facilitated by a new business. We track our volunteer hours, and this is in coordination with all of our committee meetings. We tracked 110 hours this quarter and engaged 33 different volunteers. Grant writing efforts for the organization this quarter produced a $10,000 grant, and that is the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. It's the Brighter Future Fund. We were able to fund our Main Street series, which is where we go in and produce digital marketing to be used for social media platforms, kind of a content creation project that we have. So we're excited to get the ball rolling on that, where we'll work with 12 different businesses on the project. And really, it's just to kind of teach skills in technology, kind of develop a digital workforce, allowing them, you know, if you have an employee that's low on hours, that we maybe have an opportunity to use some of this digital video content on Facebook to drive sales for our businesses. So we're excited to get that project off and running. We've had it developed. We just didn't have the funds to use videographers and photographers and the marketing to promote it. So we're excited to get that going. Wanted to just kind of show you guys the quarterly analytics, or actually this is a lifetime analytics with our digital kiosk that's implemented in the Midtown, as well as the Visit Ruidoso application. You can see that we had a pretty high usage daily throughout the course of the summer. Again, the kiosk is not at its full operational capacity right now due to COVID. We decided to take away the touchscreen function on the kiosk just to kind of reduce the spread of the virus. So our RuidosoMainStreet.com site had seen a big jump in the past quarter. So we had 61,000 page views. It's just a coordinated effort with all of our linking that we do with all of the village content, chamber content, and across the community there. Two projects that we're going to start working on with the Village of Ruidoso is pulling technical service requests from New Mexico Main Street. One effort is in regards to the watershed issue that we have in Midtown. A lot of what we're seeing is water contaminants going into the river. So in coordination with Eric Boyd over at the Water and Parks and Rec, we're looking at kind of transforming the Rio Street behind, I guess that would be Hunt and Harvest, all the way over to Brunel. The project's still kind of in its infancy in that we've submitted technical service requests to New Mexico Main Street. They'll get back with us with their design specialists to give us some renderings. Really, the biggest thing there is to make sure that we can increase the efficiency in the parking, the trash can plan, pedestrian usage and amenities, and more importantly is connecting access down to the river walk there at the Rio Ruidoso and other coordinated efforts from the village. The next thing we would like to see and we'll be working on with New Mexico Main Street is a wayfinding project. This is just a preliminary idea, but is a way just to kind of increase usage to our public amenities, as well as like being able to identify where Midtown is throughout the community. Another thing I think would be cool to see is some sort of district map or some sort of directory signage implemented in Midtown to allow patrons to know where and what amenities are available, as well as what businesses are. So really, other than that, we're just kind of staying full steam ahead, and would like to stand for any questions that anybody might have.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Tim.
Matt, in the future, can you send us your presentation ahead of time? Because it's really hard to read looking up on the screen to get the full impact of what you're reporting. The other thing is Ruidoso Midtown Association doing anything regarding Halloween? I keep seeing information coming out, but not sure if the RMA is a part of that.
Tim, we are encouraging everybody to follow the CDC guidelines and the guidelines from the state of New Mexico. Us as an organization, we're going to take a back seat on the Halloween activities this year. The capacity that we were at last year will not be matched this year. It is just, we're kind of in a tight spot there with, in fact, the governor's recommendations for Halloween activities did not mention that door-to-door trick-or-treating was an unsafe practice. We are encouraging all of our businesses to, really get New Mexico Safe certified. I think it's really up to the individual businesses if they're going to hand out candy or not, but we will not close down the road, do a pumpkin roll, nor a haunted house this year.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. On that digital media grant, you said that it's working with 12 businesses. How are those businesses selected that you'll be working with?
You know, that a great thing that you brought up. I'll be bringing that up tomorrow with our board, but we need to have a vetting process, and more than likely we'll do the same procedural operation that we did with our mural project, and that we'll put it out to the community to kind of come up with an application. So it'll be open to the businesses within the Main Street project. So in total, 12 businesses will be selected, and that will be the vetting process there. You'll have to apply as a business owner, and then really what we would like to see is the businesses that use social media as a platform to sell. So if you have a digital or an online store, I think that would be more of an incentive to try to get that business showcased within this series, and really try to work that the website of marketing. And again, it's trying to create work hours for our employees. So the digital workforce is more important now than ever. And really businesses that take incentive in that are going to be a high priority for us.
Thank you so much for your work.
Oh, Matt,
Hey, thank you guys.
Jackson, could you help me understand a little bit? What were the concerns about Rio Street between Hunt and Harvest and Brunel's as regards the river?
Yes, sir. And if you look, I can get you guys this. My apologies of not having the presentation to you. But the realignment of Rio, the issue there is Rio Street makes has a stop sign where you have to make a right turn and then a left turn to continue down Rio Street. The idea there would be to just go to a four-way intersection there where Rio Street on the, I guess that would be on the west side where they run in together. So we would take away the odd intersection there. I think it would be a way to kind of increase, take away the unnecessary jog and just kind of enhance the traffic flow there of Rio Street. There's a lot of concerns that I have on the project. Really, we saw just what type of public response we got off of the lane diet. We are really wanting to work with the business owners on the forefront of all of this, but I think if we can come up with some sort of efficiency plan with working with New Mexico Main Street, that we can see that there's close to, I believe I counted the other day, 16 trash cans in the public parking. And so if there's ways that we can come up with some sort of efficiencies there, I think that we could kind of create a unique place back there. And my drive has always been kind of creative placemaking, and I know New Mexico Main Street as well. But I think that there's some opportunity to put maybe a green space back in there, something creative that will allow people to, when they stop in the public parking, this is kind of a gateway into our midtown. So I'd hope the project would go over well.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good, Matt, but yes, you're completely correct that you'll need to do a real extreme and significant outreach program on those folks on Rio, knocking on their doors, because I know there are some full-time residents over there, but to get them on board. So we'd love to help you with putting that plan together. Does anybody have any other comments or questions for Matt? None? Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, and then I'm told that we have some new employees, so we're going to jump back one section that we have out here. And would you send in whichever one's first? Is Nicholas out there? Nicholas? Oh, there. Do you go by Nick or Nicholas?
Nick is fine.
Nick is fine. Nick Silva is a firefighter, and he is now at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. He started at 9:15:20, so we really appreciate, we like to bring in everybody, and so you'll know who we are. I know we all have our masks on, but you know your manager over there, Tim Dodge. Counselor Joseph Eby, and that's Counselor Lutterman right there, Susan. And I'm Lynn. This is Gary Jackson, Counselor Jackson, and then John Cornelius, and Armand Devine's over here, and then, never mind Tim Coughlin, and then this is Mr. Salas over here. So we're glad to have you out at the airport. We're expecting some good things out there, and we hope you have a good time and a long employment with the village. So thanks for coming in, and is there anything you want to say? We just want to let you know that you have open doors, that if, you know, always talk to your supervisors or whatever, but if you have some ideas, things that go on, you're welcome to call and talk to any of us. Okay? All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
Have a good day.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
All right. Next is Anthony Montez. This one kind of threw me.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is Anthony Montez. You got to take the mask off, see if we look like, you look like the one that we know.
I know.
You don't look anything, but you're related, right?
That's my dad.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is, he's going to be in solid waste service and management.
So you're a junior.
Not really, but
But,
people
yeah.
say that. People say it.
But of course, you know, this is Joseph Eby, Counselor Eby. I'm Lynn Crawford, and this is Gary Jackson. The other counselors, John Cornelius, Tim Coughlin, we'll get him in there, and Rafael Salas, and the lady in front of you, Susan Lutterman. So congratulations. Hopefully you come on, and your dad's been an awesome
Oh yeah.
asset to the community. We expect that you will be too. So.
I've applied. I finally got in. So
Oh, well, what happened? I mean, we didn't.
finally, yeah.
Yeah, finally. Well, good. We're glad that you're here.
And where, what department?
Solid waste.
Solid waste, yeah.
So, and we appreciate, that's a very crucial department in the wheels of the cog that moves the village. And you're going to find out, you probably already have. You've been
Yeah.
there, what, almost a month?
3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks. Okay. Well, anyway, if you ever have anything come up, here we are, and we're glad to have you. And
Awesome.
hopefully, one day somebody will be doing your returement
Right.
ceremony here.
That's
So.
the plan. So.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you very
Nice to
much.
meet you.
He'll probably be Mayor Crawford.
Okay, and then we had Jeff Stumpf. He's in the water department, and he had to leave. We had a water leak. So we'll get to meet Jared Stumpf some other time. Next is Carlos Archuleta. This is Mr. Archuleta. He is a street heavy equipment.
Whoa, there. Jared's here.
Oh, you're back.
Yes.
Okay, this is Jared Stumpf. I thought we had a water leak and they sent you out.
We were out there and he pulled me with Marty.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Marty brought me.
So Jared is in the water department, and we all know that's a crucial one. And you've been here since, oh, you just got here.
Yep.
So you're getting your feet wet literally right off the bat. Well, we're glad that you're here. This is your manager right here, the top dog. This is Counselor Eby. I'm Lynn Crawford. Gary Jackson, Counselor John Cornelius, Counselor Tim Coughlin, Counselor Salas right in front of you, Mayor Pro Tem. And then the lady here is Susan Lutterman, and she's your counselor. And so we appreciate you coming on and being with us, and hopefully you have a long tenure here. And
So wait, when did you start?
Yesterday.
And your vest is dirty like that already?
I already lost my first.
Oh.
I'm getting off to a great start.
I was gonna go, can you buy me a vest?
well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good eye, good eye. This is wondering why you didn't have a new one, but lost it already. Okay, now this is Mr. Carlos Archuleta.
We found it. See, now he-
Oh, you found, yeah, we found the new vest. Carlos had it.
How you doing, Carlos?
He's
Good to have you, Carlos. I'm Lynn.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Gary Jackson, John Cornelius, Susan Lutterman, and then that's their manager, Rafael Salas, Mayor Pro Tem with the United Mouthpiece on, and then Tim Coughlin. So we're certainly glad to have you. And you started just yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I know we can't ask you how you like it just yet, but hopefully you have a long tenure with us.
He
And
showed up second day.
yeah, that's a good deal. So are you from Ruidoso?
No, I'm
You-
from Mount Air.
Mountain Air, that's right. I remember seeing it. So
Yeah.
have you found a place here yet?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
you're looking. I
Yes,
know it's
sir.
difficult, and so good luck. Yes.
We have to see Mayor Pena on the call all the time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Mayor Pena.
Yeah, Mayor Pena.
And
Well-
what department?
Street.
Okay.
Heavy equipment operator.
Okay, on
So-
the way.
That's why his vest is clean.
Yeah, he's in. Well, we're certainly glad, and we've got some new equipment coming your way at the, working with Josh and those guys over there. So we hope you enjoy your time in Ruidoso, and we're always here if you need us. We just wanted you to know what we mostly look like. You can see Susan pretty clear, but we appreciate you coming in, and if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
You guys have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Welcome
The
aboard.
rest of us are ugly, we have to.
Well, okay, well, thank you. That's the last of it, but it was awesome that we got some new talent coming in. Thank you, Jeffrey, for picking that up for me. Sometimes when I take the break off, I just go down, get moving. So anyway, we will pick back up with boards and commission appointments. I don't have any. Next week I will. I'm doing some reviews on several different committees, and thank you for the applications that we've been receiving. Been trying to pick out people that'll fit those real well, because some of these committees are pretty difficult, commissions and whatnot. So anyway, next month, yes, sir.
I do have a question on that, because a lot of our committees, they're not meeting. I think the only one is planning and zoning, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, is there a way to do a Zoom meeting if needed? Because one in particular is the Parks and Recreation Commission, since we are in the process of going over the golf course survey and everything of that and moving forward with those types of things. So, you know, I don't know what other committees are meeting, if any other.
Constantly get all the meeting canceled notices.
I know they've been,
I'm really concerned about it as well, and I know that we have to be very careful, but, you know.
well, we can set up a Zoom meeting if we can just get a notice for their next meetings. I know the JUB still meeting.
Those utilities and
We meet tomorrow morning, correct? What?
utilities and finance have been meeting.
Is mid-meeting, that's true.
I just worried that, people, will- you know, it's been since March or even February since we've met with some of these, committees, and, you know, that long a period of time that we'll have a lot of vacancies.
Okay.
I worry about that.
I know we did have a few,
Well, Blackberry.
yeah.
Remember, we will, I'll meet with the directors that are liaisons to those committees, and we'll make sure that we provide a platform
Okay.
for them to meet and start.
That'd be good, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, now we'll move on to the village manager report. Mr. Dodge?
Mayor, if you don't mind, if I could take some liberty in the order that I'm gonna report.
Absolutely.
I have Phoebe online, and I'd like to give her the opportunity to present.
Okay.
So we're not holding her up too long, but I just want to say, you know, Mayor Phoebe has helped us out quite a bit during this COVID, you know, serving on the governor's council. But in addition to that, you know, I think she's moved these projects by leaps and bounds, so I want to hand it over to Phoebe. Phoebe, you want to go ahead?
Good afternoon, everybody.
We lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Apologize, my internet went down, so I have to find a public access point, and so I'm outside here trying to make do. All right, Mr. Dodge, village manager, did you just want me to give an update on the easements for the lift stations and the sewer line project?
Yes, and the progress that we've made on our environmental clearance in the Fonzie and the 404 permit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good afternoon, mayors, mayor and village council. Apologize for my technical difficulties today, but thank you so much for your time and your attention. So good news, SHPO has sent a no adverse impact regarding our sewer line project. They've officially sent that back to FEMA EHP on September 28th. And right now, FEMA EHP is working on what we call the finding of no significant impact, along with Cripps Parish delivering the 404 permit. We expect the 404 permit to be delivered and emailed to Mr. Tim Dodge within the next 2 days. We're hoping by tomorrow. And once that permit is provided to the village and to FEMA as demonstration of the 404 requirements. The FONSI will be, have all the requisite documents, and that will go through final completion. We've also talked to the program side at FEMA, and they're awaiting their environmental historic preservation side to issue the appropriate documentation and transmittals to the village of Ruidoso. So as soon as FEMA EHP finishes out the FONSI, right now we can't say days. We can't say it'll take as long as a month. It'll be somewhere between weeks. We're talking about 1 to 2 weeks that we will have all the requisite documentation along with the FONSI to then begin the actual construction for the restoration phase of the sewer line project. So there's been a lot of movement in that respect. And I just want to share with everybody's great support, and also I know patience on that aspect of the project, but we are almost there. We've also notified Molson Corbin and SAK about the developments, and they are preparing to then get work started as soon as we get the FONSI. And for the easements, right now, the lift station and restoration easements have all gone out. The letters from Mr. Frank Koppler to all the village properties that are impacted by those 2 phases. For the restoration phase, we have 10 easements. So far, we've acquired 5 of those easements. We are awaiting some additional documentation for 2 of them. That is along the Foxtride Road, where they were wondering where the sewer line was going to be relocated to. We sent that out today to those property owners, and hopefully we will be following up with a site visit within a week for those property owners. We are hoping that once we do the site visits, I've been talking with Karen, that we will have the paperwork with us during the site visits so that we could get hopefully their approval right at the site visit for those remaining restoration. And that's the same approach we will be doing for the lift stations. We have a total of 7 easements for the lift stations. So far, we've acquired 1, but Mr. Stinson owns 5 of the 7. And so we are hoping with our site visit in the next week or so with him that we will acquire 5 of those easements. And then the remaining one will be Mr. Whelan, who is just along Sleepy Hollow. And so all the easements for the restoration and lift station are progressing, and we hope to have those within the next week or so. The hazard mitigation easements, there are approximately 156. Molson Corbin and Precision have worked diligently to get all the easement exhibits out the door and finalized so that the evaluator can perform the valuations. The evaluator is Mr. Joshua Cannon, and so far he's evaluated all the properties associated from locations 1 through 16. We are awaiting his final valuations for the locations between 16A and 28. So there's a handful of locations that we're still waiting for the final valuations. But we didn't want to stop there, so we've been working with Mr. Frank Koppler to start the letter process for the locations 1 through 16. And so Mr. Frank Koppler is drafting those letters, making sure all the addresses match up. And I know he's actively working on that because we've been emailing back and forth almost on a daily basis since last week. So the projects are moving forward, and we are hoping to have actual construction, within the next month or so once SAK is able to mobilize and come and get their crews to the village of Ruidoso. And I stand for any questions related to the easements or the EA process.
Mayor, Phoebe, we have had some discussion on the bridges as well, so can you give some status on the 6 additional bridges where they're at in the review process?
Absolutely, Mr. Village Manager, again, Mayor and council members. We've had a great deal of progress there too. We've gone through the revisions. We've reviewed the latest revision of the project worksheets, which will increase the grant obligations for those projects. There's a handful of line items that we also put in the text scope of work so that they will be for example, I would mean the traffic during construction, temporary access across the river at certain locations. So we wrote that into the actual grant documents to ensure its eligibility. But until the engineering could be completed on that, it's hard to estimate what those costs would be. At this, we have the text in there, which will ensure it will ensure its eligibility for the grant. But in addition to that, we will be increasing most of our remaining projects around $1 million for each bridge on average. So that will enable the village to get started on the engineering and really how these bridges will cost. And so that enables us to continue and then fiscally to be responsible for making sure that we didn't go ahead with the engineering without those PWs being revised. So that's been a great effort. We hope to get the final PWs in the next week or so. They are going through final review and administrative process to get the documents all signed off by FEMA, and then to get the additional grant funding to the Homeland Security, which then will issue a sub-grant agreement to get those additional fundings and monies obligated to the village of Ruidoso.
Okay, does anybody, go ahead, Jackson.
One, Mr. Jackson. Phoebe, once again, thank you for all your hard work. But could you explain to us a little bit about what for myself as well as those who might be tuned in, what a FONSI is, what is the significance, and how does it tie to the Federal Emergency Management Agency?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Counselor. And I apologize for using acronyms. I'm trying to do better about that, be better about that. But the FONSI is an acronym for Finding of No Significant Impact that a project would have on the environment. And in this case, we looked at biological, other waters of the U.S., as well as histological resources. So the FONSI is basically the document and the determination by FEMA's Environmental Historic Preservation Office to verify that there won't be environmental impacts from the implementation of the project. And where it ties into FEMA is the lead federal agency. So they have to, at the lead federal agency, make that determination of the adverse impacts or a finding of no significant impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's all related to the environmental assessment that needs to be conducted. And whatever federal agency is the lead agency normally does that environmental assessment. So
I think it's important, since many of these meetings are done online, that we be very careful about the acronyms that we throw out, because if I'm listening at home, the only thing I know about FONSI is it was a long time runner on a good TV show.
Right.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? No? Okay, but I mean, that's really good news. That it sounds like we're finally going to be getting ready to go, and SKA or AKS, I get them all confused, but so they'll have to go through, clean the line, and then get to moving on that pretty quickly. So, okay, we got a lot of work to go on the mitigation and whatever, and I trust that the gentleman that owns all 5 of those, Mr. Stinson, will be able to work some agreement out on that. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thanks.
Mayor, I just
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I just really wanted to highlight that because, this has been a hurdle that we've taken a year to, get over. And it took us, we had to take quite a few steps back to do a complete redesign and then a full environmental assessment. Normally, this type of environmental assessments takes a couple of years. So, I think everybody working together really pushed and got this done within a year. I keep telling myself and telling staff that my grandfather used to always tell me, the longer the drought, the closer the rain. So, eventually we're going to get these projects done.
Okay, I mean,
Phoebe's done an excellent job there.
yes, I know she has, and we're very thankful.
As the rest of our project staff, Karen and everybody else involved. Mayor, the next report is I actually want to call Adam in, who's in my office, but I'd like him to come in and talk about the Post Road Bridge.
Okay.
And the plan to move forward on that. But we're waiting for him to come in. Phoebe, are you going to stay on for this conversation as well? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Village Manager. Mayor.
I can't see.
Adam, will you please come to the village council chambers?
Here he comes. He's coming in.
I've asked some of the directors to be here so that they can come into the council chambers to give their presentations.
Are you gonna tell us when the big day is again?
I'm gonna try to. Oh, which day?
The day you're getting married.
Oh.
That day.
Halloween, that's right.
Get to dress up.
All right.
You could remove your mask while you talk.
Mayor, council, it's good to see you guys actually in person.
Yeah.
We met with Roper Construction, Z Engineering, and Chemo. Chemo's one that did the actual gate-ins on September 30th. And Eddie from Z has actually worked up to mitigate the failure of the gate-in structure. The repairs will consist of reconstruction of the gate-in baskets with gate-in baskets and mattresses on the northeast downstream side of the river. The mattress is a new filter and riprap structure that sits behind the gate-ins. They will also mitigate the runoff on the far northeast side of the gate-in structures with erosion control. The new design he designed a weir in the gate-in structure, so any runoff coming from like the street department and everything will actually have somewhere to go over it. He also they're going to install a duckbill anchor system behind each gate-in. So basically, it'll have like a strap in front of it, and then you'll have an anchor with a wire going back to hold it back, and that's on each one of the structures. Now, one of the things that did get brought up during our meeting there was Buy America, and Chemo had said that with the COVID, the way it is in getting the metal, they're backlogged. Well, Eddie had actually looked through, all the documents and everything, and there is no Buy America, which is federal funding. So
there's no Buy America on that contract?
No, there's not. So they did find another source, and they plan to mobilize the week of October 19th, and then have the repairs done within 6 weeks of mobilization.
Okay, go right ahead, ma'am.
I'm certainly not in construction, but, as I look at it, it looks like to me that, that it was so far, it was stood up to where the water, it caved in. Do you think that it's gonna be okay now? I mean, it looked like to me that it needed to go lay a little bit flatter.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Mayor, the design that they're looking at now will actually mitigate that look. And what we're going to be looking at with the other 3 structures that were impacted by this storm is, that's they're going to be looking at doing some anchoring, but then we're going to be doing an inspection prior to the warranty period being up as well. This work that's being done to mitigate the failure is going to be paid for by the 3 companies involved. They voluntarily said that they're going to step in and take care of it. They would prefer to mitigate it without having to go to court or whatnot to try to lay blame on anybody that's picking up the costly waste.
Well, that's admirable. Sometimes you don't hear that much these days.
And that's one of the things that, Mr. Martinez from City Engineering had brought up is any place there's a bulge due to the backfill and everything on the gate ends is where one of those, the ductiles is gonna go.
Okay.
And then they are also looking at the erosion on the downstream side of the wall that failed.
Uh-huh.
So they're actually mitigating the erosion there also.
And Mayor, again, Phoebe's been advising us on this project as well and helping us keep an eye on it. So I want to thank Phoebe for helping us.
Yeah, that one was close because we were just about finished with all of that. And then we had a big rain. I don't even think it was a 50-year event, but it weakened that for whatever reasons, and Gabion baskets, that one collapsed, and so it's going to be nice to get it fixed correctly. So I'm real happy with the company stepping up.
Yeah.
We haven't always had that.
He'll have the final design by tomorrow with the ductiles built into it.
And so what's a start date? They think that
The week of October 19th.
of October 19th. So that's pretty good. And then how long do they think it'll take?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay. Good. All right, is there any? Go ahead. Yes,
So,
sir.
Mr. Mayor, Adam, it looks like it was a fortuitous catastrophe, but in a timely sort of way. But if you could just walk us through briefly why the failure occurred, other than the fact that we had a lot of rain. I mean, I know that most construction things, at least for bridges, are geared to be within 300% of failure. So I was just curious. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just wanting to know what the mechanism was and how it compounded to cause the fault.
Mayor, Councilor, really nobody knows the reason for the failure. You know, we did have a rain event. You know, everything was disturbed, you know, from them putting the gabions in and doing the bridge. So, you know, it could have been, you know, didn't have time to settle. You know, the grass didn't have time to grow to hold all the material back. You know, the gabions, you know, the way they were stacked up, you know, it could have been that there's a whole
lot, very complex.
Mayor, Councilor, if I may, you know, there's quite a few factors that played into it. You know, ultimately, you know, the way that it was designed, the hydrology of it pushed the baskets over, and the way that the compaction hadn't occurred. There's a geotech report that happened after the event, but that geotech report only looks at certain information. It doesn't look at the whole thing. But, you know, so that's really what occurred, is that the way that the baskets were set, with all that pressure behind it, it pushed it over. And, you know, there's debate of whether it was design or placement or whatever. Instead of getting into that argument, the companies have agreed to come in, each put in a third, fix the problem, and move forward.
I wasn't trying to poke the bear. I just was curious. That's all.
Yeah.
I think that most of the time when you have a failure, you learn from it. And that's kind of where I was going on the positive side.
And
on that part of it, you know, one of the things that I think, you know, several of us have discussions on this issue is when you look at FEMA, they're always wanting you to design back to pre-event.
Right.
You know, and I think had anybody else taken a look at this and said, hey, you know, there's other methods that we could potentially use, you know, I think we could have probably came up with better alternatives from the get-go. But that's not the way the process works.
Cards weren't there.
And the way they're mitigating it now, you know, with the mattress structure behind the gabion baskets, you know, there's a better filter behind there for that the water actually filter through. There's riprap rock behind there, so there's no erosion or anything behind the gabion structures also.
Yeah, and it could have been even the filter. You know, the filter could have held it back, and just the compactions, and you know, a lot of factors could have gone into that failure.
Well, I think we oftentimes don't understand the power of water, but
yeah.
But the good news is the bridge is in great shape. It didn't damage the bridge. It's just a supporting structure. Okay, is that it from Adam?
All right. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You get to have two celebrations, one a wedding and then All Saints Day.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, and then the next report, I think you all can kind of figure it out that Rodney didn't go. We're able to, work with him on a retainage, agreement to keep him for hopefully a couple more years.
He said it's like Groundhog Day. He
Yeah.
said he just wakes up and he goes back to work and he goes home, he comes back to work.
What I didn't notice from his video up above, he's making it look like he's working now. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a bookcase behind him and not the.
Out at the lake.
Pivot.
So Mayor, I wanted Rodney to give us an update on where we're at Grindstone and some of the things going on there. So Rodney, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. So as far as Grindstone goes, the summer is still rolling on. And what I mean by that is we have taken the operations for parking on a week-by-week basis, and our plan was to adjust as the weeks went by. And since we have closed down the parking operations on Labor Day, Sunday visits have dropped off, but Saturdays have not. We are still reaching the 300 car capacity each and every Saturday since Labor Day. And so one recent change is last week, we are not only seeing the 300 capacity, but we try to work with people who are coming to the lake who didn't have a reservation. And because of the people cycle through, as some people come in the morning and they leave, if we have others arrive, we create an additional reservation and allow them access. But in order to keep up with that, we've added a third person to Saturdays to help us keep up with that, because it has been very busy. The full Grindstone concession operations also ceased 7-day-a-week operations as of Labor Day, but they have continued to be open on Saturdays and Sundays. And again, they have still been pretty busy on weekends and plan to at least keep operating that way through the month of October. And in our office, we still receive quite a bit of phone calls regarding visitors to the lake, not only on the weekends, but also on weekdays. And so we're educating people about the current no fee reservations and updating them on the when the concession is open. The beach project is underway. Village staff is performing the excavation of the site. So we have parks staff and street department staff who are excavating that area and preparing that site to add back a border and the different levels of gravel and fabric and sand. From my communication with them, they expect to be completed with the excavation portion by the end of this week. One of the items that will be on one of the upcoming agendas will be the bid information on the materials, as well as a funding request to authorize or allocate the funds to purchase those materials. I believe that's all the updates I have regarding Grindstone Lake, and I'll stand for any questions.
Anyone?
Mayor.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Rodney, it's Susan. I'd just like to say I'm really glad that you're going to stay on with us for a while. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. There's just a lot of exciting things going on with the village, and it's as always, it's fun to be part of. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor Rodney, if you can update us on Halloween as well.
So what the Parks Department is planning for Halloween in the community is to offer a safe activity that can comply with the COVID safe practices. And so what we are preparing for the community is a haunted Halloween drive-through. It will be located at the north end of Kansas City Road. It'll allow one-way vehicular traffic along the walking path. Again, that'll enter at the end of Kansas City Road and will drive along the walking path and exit at the White Mountain Recreation Complex. Along the path, staff will have multiple smaller haunted house tents set up. We are utilizing the tents that were previously purchased to assist the businesses, the restaurants. We will have 10 tents that will have a small haunted house theme, a different theme for each tent. We have taken into account safety considerations with vehicles, and so we have about 6 of the tents that will just have a static display that they'll just drive through and look at the way the tents are decorated. We will have 4 tents that will have staff in them that will be in costume. At those 4 tents, we will instruct the driver to place, once they park in the tent, that will instruct them to place it in park, and then the staff will perform their little skit or scaring. So as they reach the last tent, staff will have inventoried the number of kids in each vehicle, and we will have prepared candy for the kids in each vehicle, and we'll pass that along to the vehicle in a non-contact method. And so at the conclusion of the haunted drive through that night, or each night, where it will be on Friday and Saturday, both nights, we will have 2 different drive-in movies for the community. The way we have structured both of these activities is that we are requiring reservations for attendance. So we continue to utilize the recreation software that we had purchased to create these reservations. Both of these activities, there isn't a fee associated or a time associated with the reservation. It just, each of them both have a vehicle limitation. For the drive-through haunted house event, we are trying to accommodate at least 120 vehicles on both nights. And then for the movie theater, we have set up to 60 vehicle reservations for both nights as well. We are already having reservations for both of those events, and our plans are continue to try to use that reservation system to try to acclimate the community to utilizing that process. And so far it has worked pretty well. On that software, whenever the individuals make a reservation, we are also we upload a liability waiver, and so they have to not only acknowledge the liability waiver, but they also have to acknowledge their participation with, again, following the COVID safe practices.
Hey, Rodney, get with
Yes.
me, because I happen to know where there's a whole bunch of haunted house equipment. And it's funny, we just had a meeting this morning talking about what are we going to do with it, because it's been sitting there for years, looking to get rid of it. So sounds like you guys might be able to put a bunch of that to use.
Okay, thank you very much. We will do that.
Yeah, there's a ton of it back there.
And they're gonna have bathrooms, portable bathrooms over there, plus the ones that'll be by the baseball field. You're still looking for volunteers, is that right, to work?
Yes, sir. We have several staff members that will be working, but I understand that other departments like to participate, and so we do have room for other volunteers to participate as well. So if anyone is interested, we could get you a costume in your size.
Okay, that's good stuff. Go ahead, sir.
Rodney, what are you dressing up as?
It's a secret.
Oh.
Bill Murray.
Good answer.
It looks a little bit like it doesn't.
Rodney, can you talk about Christmas a little bit? What we're doing, working with the chamber and other organizations for Christmas?
Okay. Again, all of the events that we're planning, we're working with a lot of community partners and again, trying to provide activities that follow the COVID safe practices. In regards to the couple of Christmas events that are put on annually, both by the Chamber and the Parks Department, we are trying to modify, or will be modifying, the Festival of Lights Parade as well as the Christmas in the Park. Regarding the Festival of Lights Parade, we are working with the Chamber, the Convention Center, and the MCM Elegante to host a static parade that will be stationed along a one-way vehicular traffic path in the Convention Center parking lot. And so the plan is to invite the businesses and groups in the community to put together a static display that not only can be available for the public to see on the night of the parade, but possibly through the holiday season. And so the plan for people in attendance would be to drive by these lighted displays on the night of the of that quote parade, and be able to view the parade in that fashion. If again, following all COVID safe practices, we would also recommend that, candy is a big part of the parade, but it needs to be presented in a manner with a no-touch method that hasn't been finalized yet, but that will be one of the recommendations to the businesses. And then as far as the annual or Christmas in the Park event, we are modifying that event as well and looking to relocate it to Wingfield Park. The way we will operate that night is, again, we will utilize the reservation system. And so as people arrive, we're going to prepare a walkthrough event where they can walk through Wingfield Park, look at all of the decorations that will be placed in that park, and then at the end of their stroll, we're going to still have an opportunity for them to take pictures with Santa Claus, but it'll be structured in a way where they're not, it won't be your typical sit on Santa Claus's lap. It'll be structured in a different way, so there's no contact, but they still have that opportunity. We're making an investment in some new decorations to have a high quality display this year in the park. Again, I'll stand for any questions if y'all had any regarding those two activities.
I know, and I just appreciate you working them, because I was getting calls from the public, wondering what we're doing, why we're not doing anything, and I told them we were. So we just need to make sure that we get this on social media, get our PIO to put all the information out and talk about it on the radio program. And then I guess if we can work with the school system to get the information to the kids so that they get it to mom and daddy in plenty of time. So we just want to make sure it's everybody knows about it. So great job again.
Yeah, nice one.
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes my report unless there's any questions that anybody has on any of the departments or anything we're working on.
Just touch briefly on the disbursement of the CARES Act funds that our group came up. When is that going to happen?
It's on the agenda, Mayor.
It's on the agenda. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Never mind.
You've already made me to laugh.
We would know if, you know. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions on anything to do with anything that's in the manager's report? Wingfield property, we're still working on that. That'll be on a little bit later. Nothing? Well, y'all are good, easy. Okay, we'll move on from the village manager's report to reports from municipal officials. And since he went on vacation and he didn't do anything anyway, this ought to be a real short update from Councilor Coughlin.
Well, I brought my notes.
Awesome.
I just wanted, like you said, Mayor, just to encourage everybody to make sure to vote. Early voting opens up this weekend, I believe, over at the Horton. Remember the entrance, wait, let me keep that. Remember, the entrance is on Service Road. It's not at the Boys and Girls Club. Do not come to the Boys and Girls Club to vote, especially on Monday when the poll is closed. But then also, I'm sure pretty much everybody knows, middle school and high school has been left in virtual learning. Those parents and those involved in the learning process know how difficult the virtual learning process is. And what we can do, there's a lot of people get our kids back into school. Well, we need to do our part and stop the spread. As soon as we can do that and get things back under control, then we can be able to do some of those things and especially get these kids back. I personally see some of these kids that are just struggling something fierce with virtual, and we need to get them back. The teachers really are showing to be so important in the education of our kids. And without the teachers having that one-on-one and that face-to-face with them, they're struggling. So do what you can to stop the spread. And then if not for you, do it for the kids. Get the kids back into school. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're not going to give us an update where you went or?
No.
Okay. He'll save that for Facebook.
It's a secret.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem Salas?
Mayor, thank you. And actually, I don't have much. Jim hit it about voting and we need to be out there, and that's been enjoying the fall weather. Get out and hike because the colors are good. Have y'all gone to the end of Cedar Creek and gone up that trail?
No.
Right now it's perfect time. There's a lot of maple trees that are turning and stuff. So I would encourage that little jog up there and enjoy that spot. But other than that, I think the village is doing a very good job in the safe practices and more, you're right, Mayor, more and more people wearing masks around and stuff. So it's really good. That's all I have.
Thanks, sir. Councilor Letterman?
Well, to kind of piggyback on Rifle's statement, Tom and I went to the mountain last weekend and it's beautiful. So that's another area too. What I have to say is I would encourage our citizens to tune in on Monday mornings to the mayor's.
Monday with the mayor.
Thank you, Monday with the mayor. Also, Tim Dodge and Ron Senna usually end up going for at least an hour. You had a great program this week with the veterans, learned a lot. Also, Councilor Jackson, learned a little bit about him, and that was wonderful. I always enjoyed his thoughtful insight. But I would just encourage people to tune in because it's such good easy listening, and it gives updates on all of the projects that's going on in the village. And, you know, I'm here, I sit here and I get all the material, but I always, I always learn something else that makes sense, better sense. And so I appreciate that. I always listen, and I enjoy it. And I just encourage everyone to tune in, because it is 2 hours well worth your while.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thanks. I'm going to have all of y'all on there before. I've had 2, 3. So we still have to get a few of you on there, but we try to update. Tim does a wonderful job. Ron does a wonderful job. We're still looking for people that I can come in that want to be mayor for a minute, but I can't get anybody to come in. They used to badmouth me on Facebook, and so I started calling some of them and asking them to come in, and a couple have, and then there wasn't really that big of a disagreement on anything. And it's more for fun and just to get to know people. It's not a rock throwing or fashion deal. We're not those kind of people. But anyway, thank you for that.
That's too long of a commitment.
2 hours?
No, a minute.
A minute, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Councilor Eby.
Oh, I really don't have much to say. It's just, you know, the village is humming along, and that's due to the management, the administration, and all of the departments, including department heads. And thank you for Rodney for staying on for another couple of years of being here. But thank you for staying on. I just hope you're not like Bill Murray and want to kill yourself every day. And like in the movie.
I guess he can hear you, yeah.
But and congratulations to the village for getting the recognition for the comprehensive plan and the involvement that went into staging all of those different events and the community involvement that went along with it. So that just shows you how you know, just the administration, the staff working with the village and coming together to put together the ideas and needs that people feel about the village's direction for the future, how that really worked and worked well. So other than that, I would just reiterate, go ahead and get out and vote. I guess I'll see you one more time before we do go vote, but I'll be at the polls again this year. So I'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Dr. Jackson?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto on the voting, very important. But also I want to add, please get your flu shots. That's my health and wellness for today, because it's so very important, because we don't know what we don't know about COVID going down the road. And the last thing you want to do is try to recover from the flu and then contract that because your immune system's been challenged. So please, it's, you know, it's not that painful. It's very quick. The most you might get out of it is a sore arm for maybe half a day. Put it in the arm you use all the time, whether it's pitching or whatever you're using it for. I wanted to touch again on the veterans that appeared on your radio show. Actually, I had met with them before with Congressman Pierce when they were trying to get more what we call local home care. They were addressing a lot of the same issues then about travel, coverage, how you get from an appointment to an appointment. Yeah. Many of these folks are in desperate straits, and they require, and they're given a good measure of devotion already to their country, and they deserve that respect and that help. And these folks go well above and beyond in getting them where they need to go and what they need to be seen for. Also, Rodney, I'm glad you're hanging on up there. I know you're reading your text, but you're appreciated. I never saw anybody who could come to a meeting, make everyone feel at ease, and wrangle a penny out of everything in your budget and your grants and your creative thinking with your budgets. That's the thing that entertains me the most. But seriously, thank you very much for hanging in there for us, because you do bring a lot of value to the job you do. And it's, as we're learning, it's a year-long job. It's not just a summer crush anymore. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilor Cornelius?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I've covered most of it, but I wanted to express my appreciation to Tim and Ron, all the department heads, Zach Cook, you guys have been doing an amazing job on getting us money. The CDBG and all the grants, the CARES money. Zach got us some for thinning and forestry, I believe. And we've just been getting an awful lot of money, and we couldn't do all these things if you guys hadn't done that. So thank you all.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, you're welcome, Counselor.
That's it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that ends the reports. Now we'll move into public hearings. Item number 1, I know there's been some movement on it one way or the other, I'm not sure, but it's the appeal of Planning Commission's decision to deny case number SP-2020-0289 Jesse Townsend, applicant 525 Resort Drive, James Townsend, Tract 18, designation of property to C PUD, Commercial Planned Unit Development, with the site plan and concept approval to include campground and recreational activities within a 5-acre tract. It's been postponed twice. The last time was postponed from the September 8th, 2020 regular council meeting. So I'm a little confused because I heard that we had a call that it was withdrawn. And then later that there was an act for additional postponement. So can somebody enlighten me?
Mayor, can we also call Samantha and I'll step out for a minute?
Yes, and Samantha, can you step in, please? Samantha Mendez.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I was waiting for, are you going to explain to me, Zach?
Yes, I can start. So just as you mentioned, this case the appeal has been continued twice. And on Friday, well, before Friday, Mr. Townsend, the applicant, has submitted a new application with planning and zoning that seems to be moving along nicely, according to what I've talked to Samantha at the community development department. And Mr. Townsend has also commented favorably via email. And then I spoke on Friday yesterday with Liam Griffin, Mr. Townsend's attorney, and he commented both on the phone and through an email that appears to be going good for both parties, such to indicate that on November 3rd at the next planning and zoning meeting, it looks favorable that he will be able to get through that process. Like he will have met all the requirements for the planning and zoning, and they would approve him at that time. On Friday, Mr. Townsend sent an email to Samantha that basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but go ahead and remove my appeal from the agenda. Of course, the agenda had already been published and it's on your agenda now. And then yesterday, and Samantha sent that to me. She had to remind me yesterday, but I wrote, I said, great, whatever. He doesn't want to go forward. Everything's going fine and planning and zoning. Yesterday, Mr. Griffin called and said, he asked me if they could postpone the appeal to the November date working under the assumption that everything appears to be going fine at planning and zoning, and that everybody right now is very optimistic that he's going to get through his current application at planning and zoning, at which time, if it did go well and he was approved of planning and zoning at that time, which is November 3rd, they would withdraw their appeal for the November 10th meeting. So, that's the mayor, that's the governing body's call. If you guys want to continue again, I would recommend it because, if you did not grant the appeal and procedurally it's simple. I have written a motion that says you just suspend your rules, the Roberts rules, to allow for another continuance. That pushes it out. You don't have to have the hearing. And if you were to have the hearing, go forward with the hearing and deny it again, that means that's going to result probably, it would appear, in a district court appeal, which, I would feel more than comfortable representing, defending your denial. But why go through all that if we could push it out one more time and see if this thing gets resolved on November 3rd at the planning and zoning hearing. So.
Okay. Zach, if it is denied, my understanding, I think it came up previously, that if somebody appeals a planning and zoning, comes before the council, and the council upholds that, then it prohibits them from filing a new planning and zoning case for a period of time. Is that, am I correct?
9 days, is it?
I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah. How long does the applicant have to wait after they've been denied?
90 days to reapply, so he's already outside of that 90 days. He could have applied at the last meeting.
But if we were to move forward and hear this, and let's assume that it got denied, then it would prohibit 90 days from today for them to make another application to P&Z?
No, he already does have, he's on our agenda for.
I understand he's on agenda, but it's almost like you've got a backup plan going on, and it's like we've already postponed this several times. So it's either withdraw or we move forward with it today. One or the other, because it's been 3 months, and what it appears is that just in case something happens in the planning and zoning process that's going on, then at least they've got this that they can fall back on. And it's kind of like double jeopardy almost or something. I don't know. It just doesn't.
I can clarify some of that for you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, hold on just a minute, Mr. Griffin. Just 1 second. Okay, did you have any other comment or question?
No, that basically.
Okay, Samantha, did you have anything to add to what Zach just said?
No.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, you go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What I perhaps failed to bring to the council's attention when I appeared before you in August was that the reason that we would seek a vacate is the term I used back then. We established the word continuance as proper in this quasi-judicial forum, but it still applies to the same rights. And I'll point out a very important consideration is that 3 months going by hasn't hurt the village at all. A year going by still wouldn't hurt the village. So the reason we ask for a continuance is primarily for the preservation of the right to appeal beyond the village to the district court. I spoke with Mr. Cook about this, and I'm pretty sure he understands this principle. The idea is if we go into the appeal right now, in other words, if you compel me to make my argument and you make a decision one way or the other, preferably you would decide in favor of Mr. Townsend's right to develop his property because the denial was based on non-statutory grounds. That would be my argument. But as I would make that argument, Mr. Mayor, what I would end up doing is placing my client in the village of Ruidoso, who had a long history of cooperative relationship, I'd be placing him in an adversarial position. He doesn't want that, and I don't advise it. Instead, what we're asking is that we would attempt to do a, for lack of a better term, diluted form of business development application, because we believe that at least at the very minimum, Mr. Townsend is entitled to develop a business that has no land development associated with it if he properly complies with all other ordinary business registration requirements. So he made his application for that purpose, and he has a hearing on November 3rd. We, as Mr. Cook has explained, are extremely optimistic that we will avoid a future potential appeal to the district court, quibbles and quarrels about civil rights and the powers of municipalities if we just wait to see what happens on November 3rd. If we are still displeased, then we should be entitled at least to our hearing before the village council. But the reason we ask for it not to occur today, and it would be better to occur in November, is because we believe that we're on the right path and that we don't need to raise all the issues that my appeal contains, because frankly, the only objective is for Mr. Townsend to be able to develop his property. It's not mere optimism. It's also a concerted effort, I'm sure, on the part of Ms. Mendez and Mr. Townsend and any others who are involved, including Mr. Cook, to try to resolve this amicably. If those of you are growing impatient that the Townsend application remains in suspense prior to appeal, then certainly I would have you deny our request for a continuance, and I would go ahead and make my delivery this afternoon, which I'm prepared to do. But I would prefer, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, that we temper this, this attitude of caution with a certain amount of common sense and perhaps optimism that we can resolve this issue without the need for becoming adversarial. It's mainly the whole idea of the continuance is to preserve the right to appeal. We will, in theory, have our hearing in November, and the only thing that will have occurred is a lapse of time. And by the way, if later my client would claim prejudice, he would be unable to claim prejudice for the period of time after the August 11th meeting for which he sought a continuance. So I think we're on the right track, Mr. Mayor. I hope that the council will see fit to postpone this one last time. My assurance to Mr. Cook is that we have no desire to waste any more time either. We're hoping that we will have a permit, at least a business registration by the first week of November. And we're certainly hoping that we'll have a green light for development, provided that we comply with all the village requirements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, the application that's being heard on November 3rd is substantially different than what you all would be hearing today. He speaks of development, however, his application for P&Z in November does not include any kind of development. It's all of temporary outdoor recreational nature. So it's not the same case.
Yes, sir, John.
Maybe for Mr. Cook. I don't mind if this gets postponed, like she just brought up. It's not the same issue, is it? If he's turned down in November and we hear this appeal, is that two different things? Should he be appealing the next one instead of just?
There's an appeal of case number SP 2020-0289, where he applied for campground.
Right.
He didn't meet the requirements there, they denied it, and that's what's in front of you now. He has changed his ideas about what he wants to do with this property and has come to P&Z with another application for
Outdoor recreation to include a bounce house, cornhole, pony rides, things of a temporary nature that wouldn't involve development.
So
with no camping.
With no camping.
So is this even valid anymore? Kind of my question.
Well, they're asking to keep it valid.
Okay.
So,
Like I said, I don't have a problem continuing it. but-
So explain to us the deal about, because I was under the notion that we followed our rules, but you're saying there's a way to suspend our Robert's rules.
You guys, the governing body, prior governing bodies, I think y'all do it maybe every year, adopt Robert's rules as your rules of order. You can suspend your rules of order in order to allow things like this under whatever circumstances. So if you were inclined to push this out another month and see what happens at the November 3rd P&Z meeting, you could just suspend your rules and allow for another continuance of this case.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
The way I hear it is, on one hand, we want to follow certain procedures to allow for the appeal and whatever. But on the other hand, we want to avoid or ignore our procedures for the appeal, which has a certain time period and a certain number of times that it can be postponed. So it's not an equitable situation.
This is Jackson, I just had a question. Why would it not be appropriate, since we seem to have two different books of business going on here? And apparently on this particular, and I have read it, but on this particular application, why not just withdraw it? Because you're really putting forth a whole new, coming back to planning and zoning with a whole new application and a new request for approval and at November 8th meeting. I mean, I could conceive that you might have two appeals running concordantly, and I think that would be very confusing and really not too productive.
I have not been involved in their strategy conversations. As far as the village goes, I would like, my ultimate goal would be to keep you guys out of an appeal in district court. In my experience in Lincoln County on land use issues that involve the government telling a private person what they can do, generally the local government goes in the weaker position. That doesn't mean that we're going to lose automatically, but why face that risk if we are working, although slowly and not equitably, I agree with that. If we're working towards a resolution and we see light at the end of the tunnel on resolving all of these matters, my advice to you is to keep moving forward that way.
So there's one other issue is I had somebody who was opposed to this thing reach out to me, and I told them I cannot discuss it. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want nothing at all. And they said, oh, it's coming back up again. What do we need to do? I go, to be honest, I don't know. Contact the village clerk and see if all the comments that were provided by the public in previous months will be provided to us once again. And my understanding, what they said is we reached out to the village clerk, and Irma, I don't know if you had this conversation, but they were being told that it was being pulled from the agenda because the applicant has requested it be withdrawn. So the public who has a vested interest in this was giving in, if this is true, the public who has a vested interest in this was being told that it's being pulled from the agenda, and they're not aware that now at the last minute, Mr. Griffin, and I get confused when your client is saying, I want to withdraw, and then the attorney comes in and says, no, we don't want to withdraw. So then there's an issue with the public, because it's supposed to be a public hearing, being told that this is being withdrawn, so they're not going to be attending or providing information or whatever since it's a public hearing.
Irma?
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, Councilor Coughlin, you are correct. I was contacted by an individual who asked me that specific question about their correspondence. I informed them of the information that I had on hand, which was that this was being requested for withdrawn. I was not aware that this was going to stay on the agenda until like 2 minutes before the meeting.
Oh. Okay, so we have a confusion here.
Well, I got a comment.
Go ahead, Joe.
Granted, Mr. Lee Griffin, you and your client are requesting a stay. Let's just say a continuance of this, but it's not only your side, you as your client, but it's also our legal representation. So in essence, you have both legal parties are essentially requesting it. You're not really requesting, you're advising. So you have a request and advise. So they're essentially in agreement as far as for the two parties, which is the best way to go forward. So in that's why we're paying Zach the big money, is for his legal advice. So with that, I would say I don't see any issue with going ahead and letting it go for another 30 days.
Make a motion.
But I would like to ask Zach, now knowing that the public has been told that this was being withdrawn, does your opinion change?
No, the person will still have an opportunity. It'll be published as normal. If you want to tell Sam or the clerk who you talked to, we can reach out to that person directly. But they'll still be noticed of it.
That's different.
Yes, Irma.
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, Councilor Coughlin, and yes, for clarification, I did inform the person that was the information that I had, but obviously, I always let them know that it's ultimately your decision when it comes up for the actual, obviously the decision during the proceedings of the meeting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I just want to remind everybody, we've, from our position, we've always been wanting to be helpful to local businesses because, even though none of us went to counselor or mayor school to learn how to do all this, we've devoted our time to help business people be able to realize their dreams and get into business. And we just ask them to follow the rules. And so I know it's confusing from a layperson to get into this. I would say I'm not exactly happy with the way this, because it is confusing to the public and to us too. And why have rules if you're going to suspend them? I understand all that, but I say for the continuous, and if you want to call it the greater good, I would just appreciate the thought that we would suspend the Roberts rules this time. It's a small matter. I think in the village's purview, it could be a benefit to the people of the community, but it could be a big thing in this individual's life, Mr. Townsend. So I would just say, I would appreciate if we could look at it from that point and then hear it next week. And then maybe all the cards will be on the table and we'll have something by November 3rd. If we don't, then we can revisit this. That's just my opinion. So what we need is if somebody likes that, I need a motion to suspend and whatever. If you don't want that, somebody wants to make a motion to deny, it's up to you.
And before we get there, I would like to hear from Mr. Griffin about, if we could have some sort of assurances that.
Can you hear him?
No, I'm unable to hear him.
Okay, that's probably over here.
Can you hear this?
No, it's these over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're still hokey.
I was just hoping that you could give some assurances to the governing body that in the event that Mr. Townsend is approved on November 3rd, that you will dismiss this appeal.
I can assure you that if he's approved on November 3rd, we will dismiss the appeal. The appeal would really only be necessary if the same grounds for denial were extended to the second case. I can give you that much assurance, folks. I know you're concerned about litigation and lawyers getting involved and that kind of stuff, but I can just tell you, Mr. Townsend wants the simple result of consent for his development. And if we get it on November 3rd, the appeal is gone. If we don't get it, the appeal may be somewhat moot based on the grounds for denial on November 3rd. But our presumption is if there's a denial on November 3rd, it would be based on solid grounds where we fell short somehow, and we will try to address that. So I'm highly optimistic that we can get this all cleared up in the next few weeks.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, Samantha, I just had a question for you. You've looked at this second application, and I don't want to abrogate planning and zoning and their duties. I'm just asking, as an expert in your area, when they reapplied and they had that checklist of things that they fell out of and asked all those waivers for, is it your opinion professionally that they are trying to meet the bar of what's required?
Yes, they've changed their application to have different types of activities, which no longer would involve infrastructure or utility placement. And so that's where this new application is more positive, I feel. Being a PUD, there are several steps ahead of just a concept approval and site plan. So he still has a few public hearings ahead of him in the process, but I do feel like this is going to be more favorable than a campground.
Well, Mr. Mayor, to that end, I have a point of information from Irma. Would this be a requirement of two motions, one to suspend Robert's Rules of Order and then a motion, or not? Or can it become habit?
I've drafted a motion that I believe covers it.
He's got it right here.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Speaking to the microphone.
I move that we suspend the rules to allow an additional continuance of appeal to the planning and zoning case number SP 2020-0289, Jesse Townsend applicant, to be considered at the next regular council meeting.
Second.
Okay, discussion's already been had. Roll call, please.
Counselor Edie,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
No.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Okay,
Just for the record, I don't like the precedence that this sets.
I understand.
We're gonna have other people coming in wanting things set aside too, and you're gonna have a hard time denying them when you've just made this.
Well, this one has other circumstances. If they're probably in the same position that they're trying to work through it and they have another process in play and it'd be very similar to it, then there would be an argument. If it just comes somebody and they're not doing anything different, they haven't made any bullet points that we've asked and they haven't gone through and worked with like they have been, our planning department, it wouldn't be the same type of thing, but we have been making progress here. And that's the only thing that I would say is, and I hope the precedence is that we're moving forward in the business. We're going to have another business open up and another amusement or something for the kids that hopefully through COVID will get to open up. That's what I hope the precedence is. And that's just my opinion. But I do understand what you're saying. But I wasn't surprised.
No, I have a lot more to say, but I won't.
Okay. All right. We're through with that one. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2, appeal of Planning Commission's decision to deny case number CU 2020-0550 Tyler and Tamara Stuckey, applicants 2213 Sutter Drive, request for a mobile vending stand in conjunction with Tall Pines Beer and Wine Garden to provide food to customers located within a C3 Midtown commercial district. And I've got a note here that they had called in, and I thought this was of the very essence that we had to get on this and that we were meeting our timeline, but they've called in and asked to postpone this one till the November 10th meeting. Okay. So they're postponing. This is their second one, right? First one. Okay. First one. Now then, we had asked some questions of them. Have we? Has any of that been answered? Or are they aware of those things? Like with the short-term rental and.
Mayor, we haven't posed any additional questions to them at this time.
Okay. Okay. So I guess we'll need a motion to either accept or deny the postponement.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would, for the purposes of a vote and discussion, I would move to postpone the public hearing for the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to deny case number CU 2020-0550 Tyler and Tamara Stuckey, applicants 2213 Sutter Drive, requesting a mobile vending stand in conjunction with Tall Pines Beer and Wine Garden to provide food to customers located within the C3 Midtown Commercial District to the November 10th, 2020 regular council meeting.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Well, I have a question. Why? I mean, if they've gone through planning and zoning and they've made their appeal, why are they asking then within that 30-day period then to postpone it again?
Well, yeah, what are they doing different? Yeah. Irma, did they divulge any of that to you?
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, they said they were going to be out of town and unavailable.
I think that within their original application, they were wanting, there was something mentioned in there about it being in effect through Labor Day. So at this point, there's no urgency
at all
on their part.
I would call the question.
Okay, call the question. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilor Jackson?
No.
Councilor Eby?
Aye.
Councilor Letterman?
Aye.
Councilor Salas?
No.
Councilor Coughlin?
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Is that right?
Yeah. It's their first one. Just as long as you don't get to vote.
Well, I was getting kind of itchy over here.
Well, once in a while, it's exciting.
Yeah, thinking, man, I'm gonna make
I don't
it.
think our previous mayor even had that option.
No, he did not.
He tried to rig it at the very end.
Mayor, did you ready finish this?
Yep, this one's voted.
I'd like to recommend a recess. We got a little bit of a treat for the council.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else that's in the building.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna take about a 15-minute
5-10 minutes?
5-10 minute, we'll say 15-minute recess.
Sounds good.
So,
Yeah.
time out. Thank you, everybody. We're back. So now then we will go into item number 3 is ordinance 2020-07, an ordinance for the leasing of the tract of land known as Eagle Creek Sports Complex and adjacent real property to Ruidoso Snow Play and Ice Skating, Inc., to expand the operations of Ruidoso Winter Park and to construct and operate additional outdoor recreation facilities. This is a public hearing.
Mayor, on this one, we're also requesting a continuance on this one. We currently have Mark Beatty conducting an appraisal on the property. It's a ground lease plus, and that study is ongoing. We're not prepared, so to have it complete yet. So we're requesting a continuance until the budget hearing later in the month.
Okay, I don't know about that. Let's ask Coughlin.
No, is this a village requesting a continuance?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably better you ask me than Jackson.
Well, Jackson said no a while ago. He said yes. Okay, so we'll need a motion, please, to, yes, sir?
Mayor, I thought there was a value listed on there of 80 acres. I thought.
Oh, there was. It was like 50.
Well, we got the deal for the land lease, but then we were if I remember correctly, then we were looking for a percentage over, and we were trying to come up with a formula because we just didn't want just the land lease. We wanted to be able to, when business is good,
Right.
and whatnot. And so we contacted a local professional, and he's trying to get together some sort of comps, and he's had some difficulty. And I think, Tim, you met with him the end of last week, and he was
Still.
working on getting something for us, and he had part of it, but not all of it.
Okay.
And so when we're wanting to move on this, so, and I know Dorgan and them are excited about it and want to move as quickly as possible. So as soon as we get it, we may have a special meeting or something to look at it at that point.
Can we move this to the 27th?
Pardon?
Can we move this to the 27th? Do you think, is that legal?
We haven't posted anything on the 27th, so we could.
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, Mr. Dodge, I believe, Rodney Gringo, our Parks and Rec Director, specifically was requesting that this would be postponed to the October 27th special meeting.
Okay. Then that, yeah.
Okay, made it easy then. So we just need a motion to postpone or move.
To postpone. Mr. Mayor, move to postpone discussion and adoption of ordinance 2020-07, an ordinance for the leasing of the tract of land known as Eagle Creek Sports Complex and adjacent real property to Ruidoso Snow Play and Ice Skating, Inc., to expand the operations of Ruidoso Winter Park and to construct and operate additional outdoor recreation facilities.
Second.
Do we need to add and move to 10/27?
A regular scheduled meeting
To
accepted.
the special meeting.
Special meeting.
Special meeting October 27th.
Yes.
You accept that, Raffle?
Second, yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Edie,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Okay, awesome. Item number 1 has been removed. And hopefully we will have the better numbers.
He's gonna broadcast out of the back of the car.
And I'm just gonna drive around in my truck.
Removed completely this time?
No, it's just being removed. We're pending on other, not appraisals, but other estimates.
Can we make sure that I still didn't see it, that as we move forward, we put chases in for network lines? Because I didn't see that in the plan for the mechanical or electrical. I would hate to see we build out a new place and then have a whole bunch of Cat 5 or Cat 6 running around on the outside of the walls.
It's gonna have drop-in ceilings.
This part of it. This is just the radio station, the garage area.
Correct, right.
So it'll be in the ceiling,
But it's
but
gotta come down the wall at some point, so have some type of chase coming down the wall.
okay.
Yeah, well, it'll all have to be conduit,
Yeah.
the commercial building.
Yeah.
I got an electrician and a sucker.
You do? Well, I'm meeting one after our meeting today to see. So maybe we'll have a couple estimates. So,
They
okay.
gotta be cheaper than bringing them in from out of town.
Yeah. per diems and all that. Okay, great. That's the best news I've heard all afternoon. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. Discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2020-39, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of a completed grant loan application for financial assistance to the New Mexico Finance Authority Water Trust Board for fiscal year 2021. And I believe that this one is Mr. Boyda, is that right?
Yes, Mayor Crawford, councilors, I'm Eric Boyda, the Water Resource Director. I first want to thank Councilor Coughlin for asking that question, because I just took a giant bite of my lunch thinking you guys were going to go into a lengthy discussion about the radio station. So you gave me some time to finish that food.
Whatever I can do for you.
Yeah. So this is a resolution just allowing the application to the Water Trust Board for our Phase 2 Eagle Creek Wellfield projects. As you can remember, our Phase 1 project was for the Alto 2 well, the Apple Orchard, and Middle Gavilan wells. Those are all in construction now and nearing completion. This Phase 2 is for the Brown and Fault well. And so we are asking for $557,000, or $557,100,000 out of the total project cost. So we're also matching an equivalent amount for the total project of about $1.1 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
So Eric, this says grant loan application. So is the 557,000 a grant or is it a loan?
They determine the breakdowns of it based off of the applications that are received. I'm hoping that the grant component or the loan component would be minimalized, because we're actually matching well above the required amount in an effort to actually get some more points in the scoring process. So based on our median level income in our population, our match requirement is only 15% of the project. And so we're matching 50% of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion, please.
I move that we adopt the resolution 2020-39, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of a completed grant loan application for financial assistance to the New Mexico Finance Authority Water Trust Board for fiscal year 2021.
Okay, no more discussion. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Councilor Letterman.
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
Okay, we just entered into the Eric Boyda show, so we'll move into item number 3 is discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2020-40, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of a completed grant application for financial assistance to the United States Department of Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, WaterSmart, Water and Energy Efficiency Grants and for fiscal year 2021. Okay, Mr. Boyda, dazzle us with this cocktail.
Mayor Crawford and councilors, so this is a similar resolution, just authorizing us submitting an application to the Water Trust, or the Bureau of Reclamation WaterSmart grant. It's really focused in on water conservation and hydroelectric power. And so we proposed 2 projects this year because the application process for this grant, they actually increased the total amount of money that they're putting into it. And so they also increased the maximum amount of funds that they could give for any single project. So we have 2 designed geobond projects for the Pine Cliff waterline replacement and Paradise Canyon lateral replacements. That project cost is estimated to be about $3.5 million. And so we're asking for 50% of that to hopefully be covered by the WaterSmart grant It would be about $1.7 million if we were awarded this. And if we get these project funds, it's a 3-year grant process, so we focus in on Paradise Canyon first, and that would give us time to wrap up the Town and Country project and the sewer line extension there using the CDBG grants. And then we would look at applying for the Pine Cliff area to extend sewer lines with the next round of CDBG applications.
Okay, pretty smooth.
So Eric, you said that this is for hydroelectric and conservation. Is this this is for water line replacement? Is that kind of like a stretch?
No, it's not. It's something that's specifically called out. And what we're doing, we made some minor we're going to be making some minor modifications to the project. So, for instance, there are, I believe, 2 PRVs in the area of these projects. We're going to be putting on a small hydroelectric generator that runs distribution water through it that's going to power the SCADA setup there. So sometimes we have issues with solar panels in our remote locations when you have a series of overcast days or snow, or we have instances of people stealing that. So these hydroelectric generators are always going to be having water flowing through them underground, safe and away from people. It won't matter if we have a bunch of snow on the ground, it's still always going to be producing electric. And then we also have district metered areas. So it's a meter that is going to measure water going through the water line into a neighborhood. And so tying that together with our demand side sales meters, we can identify when there's major discrepancies between that water flowing into a neighborhood and the water sold, and identify leaks early on before they surface. And then we can call out equipment to sound and try to find a specific leak there.
I suppose if I would have been here last week, I would have known that.
Yep. Well, he's been talking about it for a while. It's pretty smooth.
That's amazing. That is hot stuff.
And you know, as part of the, they do these grants every year, and as part of the water master plan that hopefully we'll have in next year's budget, we're going to include a hydroelectric analysis, because we actually are in a really unique situation in Ruidoso because we have such a big elevation change from, you know, think up to plant 3 in the 5 mil tanks. They're up at a high elevation all the way down to Highway 70. You know, you're talking about, you know, 800 feet of elevation change. And we actually do have a good potential that we could install in-pipe generators in place of or in tandem with PRVs, and we could actually reduce the pressures using a generator and power. We might be able to find some village offices that are nearby and power them off of this water that's coming down the hill. So we will look at other opportunities to apply for these grants in the future.
Any other questions?
Well, go ahead there, Susan.
Were you gonna make them?
No, you go right ahead. No.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Coughlin, make it.
Do you have a question, Mr. Coughlin?
I move that we accept the resolution 2020-40, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of completed grant application for financial assistance to the United States Department of Interior, Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart, Water and Energy Efficiency Grants for fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Nope. Okay, roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Okay, that's pretty good. Thank you very much, Mr. Boyda.
Thanks, Eric.
Appreciate that a lot. Okay, next one is number 4, discussion and possible action on agreement with 1215 Hotel Operating LLC, DBA MCM Elegante Lodge and Resort, RFP number 2021-002P, for convention center marketing in the amount of $59,935.00. And I guess Samantha, you're the one doing this one?
Yes, Mayor. So we had this scoring committee, and as you all were notified, they were the one and only bidder on this proposal, and their contract is for $59,935,000 annually, pending your all's approval. That is a decrease of $15,971.24 a year.
And did they say why they decreased it?
They did not. The services appear to be the same.
And I know that they had, didn't bill us for a couple of months on this last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of COVID. And so I know that they're really down too. So anyway, does anybody have any questions on this?
So is there a GRT on top of that?
GRT on top of that. We pay them. So I don't know what GRT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're paying them the $59,930.
They're billing us, so I didn't know if they're gonna bill us that plus the GRT.
I don't know to that question.
There is.
They are.
So that amount does not include GRT.
Okay, so it'd be additional. Okay, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Mayor, and the additional amount that we've saved, we have left that in contingency requested by Councilor Salas.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Salas. Okay, any other questions, comments? I need a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve agreement with 1215 Hotel Operating LLC, doing businesses MCM Elegante Lodge and Resort, RFP number 2021-002P as in Hall for Convention Center Marketing in the amount of $59,935.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Final word? Nope. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 5 is discussion and possible action on cooperative project agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, NMDOT, for project control number RT 20040 for the construction of multi-use trail system Moon Mountain from Gatlin Canyon Road to Hall Road, PR 20001, in the amount of $240,000, including gross receipts tax. Rodney?
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. So this is another formal step in the process of preparing and allocating the funds for the construction of the Moon Mountain trails. As you are aware, the trails are currently under design. It is anticipated that the design will be completed in this winter, and so DOT has to receive this from the village in order to authorize the funds for the construction that could possibly happen around beginning of summer of 2021. And so the total of the grant amount in our original request was for $240,000, which is the total budget of the project, and it does include the GRT as was mentioned in the description. I'll stand for any questions if you all have any.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Our matching, is that coming out of lodger's tax?
I will defer to Judy to answer that question.
Oh,
Judy, I was asking
Mayor,
for our match. Where's the
councilors, money is coming, that money was coming out of, the SURF from last year. It was an appropriation made in, 2020, to pay that grant.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, this goes from Gavilan Canyon to Hull Road. Is this, I know we've talked about different paths and whatnot. Is this something that's gonna have to be in conjunction with the schools? The path being taken?
Rod?
So if I could clarify that. So part of the process from the very beginning is to provide a description as part of your grant application. And so at that point in time, it was prior to the master planning process. And at that time, we had anticipated starting off of in the neighborhood off of Madera, and so which essentially was going to connect to Hull Road into the Moon Mountain area. And when we went through the master planning process, and it was decided that we would not utilize that entrance, in a sense, it altered the project just really just in the description. And so that, unfortunately, that description has to move forward with that project.
So what
to clarify where the trails will be located, they are all located within the Moon Mountain Tract, either on village-owned property or state-owned property. It is not an extension of any of the safe routes to schools paths in conjunction with the schools.
So you got that paperwork had already been sent in, and that's what we have to stick with, although, and you're sure we can use that money within those boundaries or ours?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where is this going again?
So they are multi-use trails that will be constructed on Moon Mountain on Village of Ruidoso or the state land office property that we have a lease on.
Okay. It just won't be at Madera.
That is correct.
Okay. Everybody got that? Any other questions? Okay, we need a motion, please.
I move that we accept the cooperative project agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, NMDOT, for project control number RT 20040 for the construction of multi-use trail system, Moon Mountain from Gavilan Canyon to Hull Road, PR 20001, in the amount of $240,000, including gross receipt tax.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Sir. Excuse me. Counselor Letterman? Aye. Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Okay, before we go any further, I just want everybody to know our engineer out of Roswell, Mr. Timothy Parker, resigned and took a job in Texas, down around San Antonio, to be closer to his children. And so we lost a really big advocate for Ruido. So he was a real pleasure to work with. So my vote is I hope they put Frisco in there. I hope they do, but they probably won't listen to us. And so, but anyway, so we're going to miss him a lot. I got a text from him on Sunday saying that he was leaving, and Ron confirmed it yesterday. So anyway, okay, Samantha's in here for a reason. And that reason is item number 6, discussion and possible action on amendment number 1 to professional services agreement with Miller Engineers, Inc., DBA Souder Miller and Associates for bidding and construction phase services on the water and sewer system improvements for the Town and Country Area CDBG project. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So this amendment to our professional service agreement with Souder Miller and Associates is for them to provide bid administration, construction observation, project closeout, record the drawings, And that's detailed in your all's packet in the amount of $113,716. And that's right at 5% of the total project cost.
Questions, anyone? We need a motion? What the heck's going on? Okay, you have a question, okay.
How much did you say it was?
$113,000, $113,716.
Okay, what I missed, so that it says 230.
34, 35.
That's the total amount. So for the design, we paid the $121,338. So this will be additional.
I'm gonna go up and get those bids for you. Mayor,
Yes.
I make motion to approve amendment number 1 to professional services agreement with Miller Engineers, Inc., DBA Sauer Miller and Associate for bidding and construction phase services on the water and sewer system improvements for the Town and Country Area CDBG project.
Second.
Okay, any final discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to, last week in our workshop meeting, I wanted to clarify whether we had full-time or part-time observation. And it is part-time observation in here.
On that project?
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't think we could afford that price we could get. Oh, that was John's point. Okay, thank you. Okay, next is item number 7. Thank you, Samantha.
You need a vote.
Oh, we need a vote. Okay, so we need a vote. Roll call.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Counselor Edie.
Aye.
Counselor Johnson.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item number 7 is discussion and possible action on change order number 1, IFB number 2020-007B with General Hydronics Utilities LLC for Apple Orchard H-1979-S14 and Middle Gavilan H-272-S3 well improvements, requesting an extension 35 days to November 23rd, 2020, and increasing the contract amount by $556, excluding gross receipts tax. Mr. Boyda?
Mayor and councilors, so this is the first change order for this project. Considering that we're almost done with the project, I think it was about $1 million project, and I don't foresee any other change orders. This seems pretty minor. There's 3 things that are affecting this change order. Number 1 is there was a unmarked water utility when we were doing the design for the project. And so when that was uncovered, we had to do a minor redesign in that, change the project a little bit and change some of the materials, which led to a 14-day extension of time and an increase in contract price by $556. Furthermore, the Verizon cell tower was being constructed at the same time as this project was going on, and the work crews didn't feel it was safe for them to continue working at that Hull and Gavilan tank site at the same time as that tower was being installed. So they moved off the site and are requesting an additional 14 days for that. And then there was some issues with the design set for the grubbing and clearing at Apple Orchard. And to get those fixed, it was about a seven-day delay. So all in all, we're looking at a 35-day extension and a $556 price increase.
Any questions? So y'all are comfortable with the word grubbing? Oh, I guess I was the only one that wasn't sure what grubbing is.
It's just pulling out trees and shrubs and stuff.
Clearing?
Yep.
Okay, so we're just wasting words there. Okay, no questions, we'll have a motion then.
Mayor, make a motion to approve change order number 1 for IFB 2020-007B with General Hydronics Utilities LLC for Apple Orchard H-1979-S14 14 and Middle Gavilan H-272-S3. Well improvements requesting an extension 35 days to November 23rd, 2020, and increasing the contract amount by $556, excluding gross receipts tax.
Second.
Final discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Edie?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Lemon?
Aye.
Okay, item number 8. Thank you, folks. Discussion and possible action on recommendation of our review panel on award of CARES Act Small Business Continuity Grant applications. And we have Tim and Ron here. A lot of work went into this. So Ron, are you going to give us the lowdown?
I will. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Are these microphones working? Oh, great.
You can talk your mask for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the first time that mask has been off. He's got baby skin
I had a lot of
over there.
run-ins for lunch, so. Mayor Cochran, members of the council, these are exciting times. This process has been going on since first advertised back in September 16th. And the applications opened on September 18th. They closed on October 2nd. We had a total of 76 applications that we received, 74 that qualified, and had a recommendation by the review panel funding. We had a total request amount of $1,316,379.73 worth of applications. And our funding amount we had was $1,171,500. So we are here today to let the council know that we did award all the funding to the 74 applicants that did qualify. The next step, if this is approved by the council, is we will send out award letters, and then we will have meetings scheduled with business owners. I believe now we have to go back to 5, but we'll have the grant agreements at that time executed, and we will go over the documents that needed for each applicant. So that way we can get the process moving quickly, so we can submit our reimbursement to the state, to the Capital Outlay Bureau, and be able to get the funding back to us. And then at that time, we will distribute a check to the business owner for their qualifying expenditures. So this has been a long process. We thank also Councilor Dr. Jackson for helping. He assisted us with putting some of the criteria together on that. We had a review panel. We had staff with Tim and myself and others. We had the librarians next door, and we had others within our department helping with this application process. And we feel it was successful, and we're able to give back to the community, to the small businesses here in Villa. So I'll stand for any questions.
Mayor, just, on the record, I'd just like to clarify that there was only one ineligible application and the other one was incomplete. So there was 2 different categories. And I just want to make that clear, because when we send out the letters, we're going to actually attach the part of the application that, for instance, the one that was ineligible, they marked that they were an out-of-state based operation. That made them ineligible. And then one of the other applications didn't complete the application. He just sent in, his request, but he didn't fill out the whole application itself. So that was an incomplete application. So I just want to make sure that we put that on the record, since there were 2 that were being not requested fully.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, so the documentation that you're asking, that you were talking about, did they not provide that before?
Mayor, Councilor, there was the application that was required, and then all the documentation, the follow-up documentation will be asked for later. The application itself is what I'm talking about that wasn't complete.
Okay, but what I'm talking about is the person applying for a loan didn't have to have all of the documentation for the council to look at, not us council, the committee to look at, like make sure they're in good standing with the New Mexico, or if that's one.
That was part of the application.
That's part of that.
Yeah.
So what are the documents that you're talking about?
That's later when we're asking for reimbursement.
W-9 and things of that nature.
Yeah, so when they go spend the money, that it's on a qualified expense, or they've already spent the money, they show proof that that is a reimbursable expense.
You also have to justify the dollar amounts that you put on the application.
Right.
That's stuff that's coming later.
And just to let you know, the maximum amount was 20,000. And so if you look at your small business continuity grant application, the disbursement of the funds, there's quite a few people, and it was pretty tricky because there were more requests than we had money. So they came up with a good, real fair formula to distribute all the funds down. So I was very proud of the fact that, they did that, and we had a good group to spend a lot of time working on all of this, putting this together. It was pretty intensive. It wasn't real simple. And I know no sooner than the cutoff date, 2 days later, I started getting phone calls. I just now heard. And so unfortunately, they had a deadline on that. And so we'll keep the names. It's going to be available for public information, but we're not going to go out and publicize all the names of the people. But now tell us about did you already cover that? Would I sleep through it when you're talking about breaking these people down into groups?
Mayor, first of all, in this spreadsheet, let me explain it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This spreadsheet is what the panel saw. The panel didn't see any names at all.
Right.
So the first page of the application was deducted from the packet. So the panel that actually rated and ranked them looked at the criteria, the weighted criteria, and they weighted and they ranked them. They came up with their own weighting. We had a recommendation, but some of it was objective, some of it was subjective. When it turned out on the way that they evaluated it, they went through each application and looked at the weighted criteria, came up with a score. We put it in a spreadsheet, and then we sorted the spreadsheet by highest to lowest scores. And then we took it in increments. You can see how we took it over, and based upon the scores on every 6 applications, we did a declining percentage, about 2-point-something% per category. So as from the high scores down to the low scores, it incrementally decreased the amount of award in comparison to the total request. So if an applicant requested $12,000 and they scored on the top, they got 100% of that 12. If they were somewhere in the middle, they could have been deducted, 5, 10, 15%, whatever that number came out to of their request. So it wasn't a total of the 20,000. It was a total of what they were requesting, and then incrementally reduced by that percentage. So we tried to make it fair and equitable to all the applicants. What we're going to be doing is we've sent out some social media, and it's basically a letter saying the council will be making a recommendation to council. The council will be making an award. We'll be sending out the award letters on Wednesday. And on that, if you'll contact Yvonne, and Yvonne will schedule a meeting for each individual to come in and sit down with myself, the mayor, and one of the staffer. And we're going to go in groups of 7 unless the governor changes to 5 tomorrow. We might have to change that. But then we'll be meeting with 7 of the applicants at a time. And we're asking them to bring in all their supporting documentation. And we're asking that they provide the expenditures from March till July. Bring that information in first. That way we can immediately get some cash in your hands. And I mean immediate by you bring in the documentation. Once we have all the documentation, then we can submit a reimbursement request to DFA, and they guarantee they'll get it back to us in 10 days. So
I would like to applaud everybody that was involved with this. I think it was an excellent way to handle it, especially being completely blind. I did submit an application for the Boys and Girls Club, and I'll tell you, it was fairly easy to do. It was well written, very, I think I had one question And I submitted that question, got a response back, but it was a great process. I'm really amazed at seeing the point spread from 41 points to 204 points. And boy, that business, you know, they really scored high. But I think it was a great thing that came back. It's unfortunate because I know it was advertised all over the place, that some people did not know about it. But I was kind of surprised to hear that there were 76 applications. I expected a lot more. But you know, hats off to the committee, to everybody involved in it. I think this was a excellent way to handle it, and I don't have any objections to the way it's handled. And you know, I think this was spectacular. And it gets $1 million, a little over $1 million back into our local economy. That's the thing, is that whatever we can do to get that money back in, because that $1 million will go back into payroll, it will go back into other expenses, generate some GRT, and every dollar that comes through a business goes out to the employee, and the employee then goes and buys their groceries, and then that employee goes and buys something and passes it around many times. So this will definitely help our economy.
Yes.
Mayor, and I just want to state that, you know, Irma helped out as well. She worked on receiving the application and then deducting the identifying criteria from it. And she held that criteria, or held that information until after the scoring. And then once the scoring was done, then we all signed off on that form that process, you know, was valid, and there's initials from the actual panelists, and they, you know, we're not gonna disclose their name.
And I also want to recognize Irma too, so.
Thanks, Irma. Thank you.
Well, a couple of the names, Ron Senna.
We're the ones that certified the process.
Some of them you can read, but others you don't know.
The ones that we, you know, that actually signed were the ones that certified the whole process, that it was done blind.
That's great.
Okay.
So Mayor Crawford, going back, and members of the council, it was a team effort, and we, you know, it's, again, like Councilor Copeland stated, you know, it gets the money back into the community, and now the work will begin on doing the grant agreements and the reimbursements, and we're ready for it. We're gonna move forward, and it's gonna be great, so.
Mayor, and I just want to share with you that one of our competitive communities, or competitor communities, called and said, well, can you guys share your process with us? Because we're still trying to figure it out.
Well, don't tell me it was, it wasn't Santa Fe Promise guy, was it?
No,
What was the other
community that starts with R.
Rio Rancho?
R and R.
Rio Rancho.
Not Rio Rancho, the other R and R.
Oh, who is it?
Rest and relaxation.
Oh, okay.
No. But anyway, they said, well, how much money did you guys get? And we told them, they said, well, we only got 200,000. So we felt kind of bad for that situation.
I spoke to a community, same kind of situation, bigger community than ours. It's like, yeah, well, we got this money, but that's all you got? And well, we got to figure out now what to do. And go, we got it down already. I mean, we're already going through it.
So these guys worked really super hard. There was and it's like, I called Gary right off the bat, and he was very helpful coming in and working on it. And so then we reached out to the community, got some other folks to come in, and they donated a lot of their time to the effort, and then coming up with the strategy and the numbers and the math to make it work. And so I was very pleased with it. So I was just glad I didn't have to do anything. My name's not on none of it. It's not my fault.
Plausible deniability.
So, and Mayor Judy did come help us set formulas.
Dizzy.
The main thing was,
she gave us.
Like you said, Mayor, the speed at which it was done, because I think the village really recognized the sense of urgency for these businesses that are struggling and having concerns. And we don't know where 2021 is going to go.
No.
So, you know, this is for some of those that have already expended those expenses, and this is something that they can use forward to help them get through the next length of time, whatever that's going to be.
But the great thing about all of this is that the work done with Tim and Ron and maybe some of the directors to even get us this kind of money.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, thank you so much.
Because I talked to other communities that got bumpkus or little or nothingness, and it was just total, they didn't do anything. It was bureaucrat general, business as usual, and they didn't want to work. Nobody prompted them. And these guys got in there and really put the numbers together and pulled the staff in, and they had many hours working on it, and it's paid off for our community, so.
Thank you. You know, I know
You're welcome,
that
Council.
sometimes, you know, the community, it's always, not always, but it just seems here lately negative. But
Well, a wise man told me, if you don't do anything, you don't get criticized. Is that how you said it? I was like, why are we always getting kicked around for doing stuff? You know, this, that, and then he goes, well, I don't even remember how he said it. If you don't do anything, you don't get criticized, you know, and it's like,
Well,
wow.
Edison used to say it a different way. He said, if you never try, you'll never have a success and you'll never be criticized.
Criticized, there you go. So anyway,
well, I don't mind getting criticized, so I appreciate all the work.
I'm gonna start sending the phone calls to you then, my dear. So, Irma, do we get a vote?
No.
Okay, we had a motion and a second?
Not yet.
Okay, we have a move here.
I move that we accept the recommendation by the review panel on award of CARES Act Small Business Continuity Grant applications.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes, sir. Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Thomas?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Do we have anything for closed session?
Yes, Mayor.
I
Thank you, Mayor
figured-
Council.
Thank you. We do have something?
Yes.
I figured we did. Okay, and so we'll need a motion to go into closed session, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move we move into closed session for discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso citing 10-15-1 H8, New Mexico's statutory authority 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session that will be brought back into open session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
All right, so we got our YouTube done.
I have to say, it's kind of interesting seeing some of the directors, like the one up there waving at us.